the gap between diagnosis and school. And so my topic is the value of a low vision assessment and choosing assistive devices, suitable assistive devices. I have one comment to make about children entering mainstream schooling with low vision, with no idea of what assistive devices may actually assist them in the classroom. And when they arrive at school and they don't have magnifiers or don't know that there are things that might assist them, the schools have no idea how to accommodate them. Because if they can't read what the school is presenting, how is the teacher going to cope? So hopefully this will just give you a little bit of an idea of what services are available, and now connecting with Kukhanya and maybe linking everything together, less people will fall through the cracks. Okay. I think obviously it is a given that parents want the best for their children, but it is quite daunting when one starts to try and find out what is out there and what might work for you. Whether you can afford it, where to get the help. Next slide. And I think, that says begin with the end in mind. And I think sometimes you have to know where you're heading, and that needs to influence the choices that you make. Ultimately, we want our children to be growing into adults who can access, who are educated, who are confident, who are independent, who are tech savvy, ready to face the world, socially integrated. And how are you going to get there? Because they now have a visual impairment. They can get there, but there's quite a lot of steps in between to actually get there. And also, I just want to make a comment. The cost is often prohibitive when one's thinking about technology. I would like to encourage you not to be deterred by the cost, but to actually be informed about what is available and what is possible. And then one can plot one's own way forward. But if you have no idea what equipment is available out there, how a blind person can use a computer, all of those things, you're not going to know how to assist your child and how to begin to make choices for them. The first thing is, what is an assistive device? And when we think about assistive devices, we often think very high-tech stuff, but there are low-tech things as well that you can start using and implementing right from the time you get a diagnosis. Do you want to go to the next page? This is just a picture of some non-optical, simple, low-vision assistive devices that are out there. And I would encourage you to come to the exhibition room where we are, because we've got a lot of these things there for you to have a look at. Black Koki pens instead of pencils when children are writing. They will see what they're writing, the darker the implement. Claire was talking about contrast, just using contrast in your environment to make things easier. Pencil crayons are very pale. Koki pens are dark. Those are kind of day-to-day things that can be used as assistive devices. The lighting, marking things. Claire spoke about marking things with raised bumps, brightly colored tape. There are talking calculators, large print keyboards, large print books, talking watches, audio books. There are lots of assistive devices that you can be using right from early on to enable independence. Assistive devices are all about enabling you to access education and to become more and more independent. Do you want to go to the next one? These are just some more examples just of non-optical assistive devices that raised like a reading board or stand to make things easier, sunglasses for children. Those are all things that you can actually be doing from quite early, just making life a little bit easier for your children. When it comes to optical devices, and really I'm just skimming over it, this is about magnifiers, making things bigger. Sighted children access print and pictures and images from very young. Children with low vision can't. And if they have a very simple assistive device from early on, they can actually start engaging with the pictures that other children are seeing. Making things bigger. This is a telescope looking into the distance. Ordinary binoculars can even do that for your child. In our low vision service, we actually do an assessment to establish what strength magnifier your child might need if they have low vision. And then you can start playing around with what the options are. These are quite inexpensive, affordable, assistive devices. And if your child starts seeing print from young and starts seeing pictures from young, if they have low vision, then they are at an advantage. But if they arrive at school not really ever having seen pictures and not ever having really seen print, how is the school going to accommodate them? So it's quite important for early intervention with these assistive devices, or at least for you to be aware of what's available when your child is ready to start engaging with them. Can you go to the next one? And then there's the whole sort of the spectrum of assistive technology, and that's when one's looking at the digital stuff and the electronic stuff, whether it's electronic digital magnifiers, computer software that speaks to you and magnifies, screen reading magnification, screen reading software, large prints. There's such a, will you go to the next slide? These are just some examples, and this is where the expense comes in. But don't be deterred by that, because it's these devices that are going to allow your child to be able to be included. And I want to say that in the Eastern Cape, interestingly enough, that education department, through these inclusive education teams, are accessing devices like this for their children in mainstream schools in the Eastern Cape. So you've got to know what's out there, and then you've got to look for ways to access it. And it is, we're all on a learning curve here. This inclusive education is new. People don't know how to include children in mainstream. But if the parents come informed and your child is already used to using a magnifier, and I'll go on to other stuff just now, but if they arrive into the schooling system with that advantage, it's going to be easier to include them into mainstream if that's the route that you're going to go. And so, where do you begin? Confused by too many choices. I really think you need to be proactive as parents and become informed about what your options are. Explore websites. There is so much on the internet. Just become aware of what things are out there, and then become aware of what things are available here in Cape Town. Because sometimes people think all the stuff is only available overseas. Visit suppliers of these things. Go and have a look at the devices, even if they're 50,000 Rand. Go and look at them so that you know what's available and what is possible. And then I want to really encourage you, if you have a child with low vision, to consider a low vision assessment. And I'm going to go into a little bit about that, just the benefits of it. As I say, don't be deterred by the cost. There are often ways to get around that. But if you are knowledgeable, you can start making informed choices. You want to go on to the... Yeah, I'm going to go on to that. So, the purpose of a functional low vision assessment, and I want to say that the organization that we work for provides this as a free service. So nobody has to pay for this functional assessment. It's done by occupational therapists, and we have assumed and encouraged the people coming to us to have seen an optometrist first. So if your child could benefit from spectacles, they need to have those spectacles, and then one needs to look at assistive devices. So in our functional assessment from an occupational therapist's point of view, we really are trying to understand how your child's vision is impacting on their function. So the diagnosis could all be the same and your children could all be seeing differently. So it's about what your child can see. We look at how the vision impacts on the whole person, socially, academically, in the workplace, recreationally. The aim is to restore independence, as much independence as possible, to enable them to be able to function in society with anybody else. Other slide. These are the questions we ask, to personalize it. What do you understand and know about your eye condition and the prognosis? Very important as to how you deal with everything. How is this affecting you as the sighted, the parents and the child? What can your child see? What do they want to see? What do they need to see? What is possible to see with an assistive device? Next question. And the solutions when we've done our low vision assessment could be glare management, awareness of the role of good lighting, all the things that Claire spoke about, using that practically in your environment. Maybe your child needs mobility training even though they have sight. Depending on their vision loss, that might be something you do have to consider. It's about independence. It's about making the most of things. If your child needs magnification or magnifiers, you need to know what strength magnifier your child needs and then to have the appropriate magnifier. You can't buy them on the internet or whatever. You need to know what strength magnifier you need. And you also need to be aware that and in fact, most people with low vision see electronic print much more easily than hard copy print. So do not shy away from electronic devices because you may need much less magnification with an electronic device than you would with a handheld optical magnifier. These are just some things that you need to think about when dealing with low vision conditions. It's essential to explore the whole range available to maximize your child's remaining vision. These innovative aids are not mere tools, but a gateway to a world of possibilities. On the radio today, I heard that in South Africa, there are 60,000 jobs available for people who are digitally, it's in the digital world. And that is one area where blind and partially sighted people can work. So you need to be computer literate, and your children need to be computer literate from very young so that they can compete equally with other children. Early intervention with low vision devices can strengthen the visual abilities of your children by reducing visual deprivation, and that's a big thing. We often see children who are already at school who actually can't recognize pictures even with a magnifier because they've never seen them before. It's so important if your child has vision to use that vision. The sooner they start using them, the more confident they become with the device. And this was a quote, this is the beginning of the website for the Perkins School for the Blind on their website. And they just say, everywhere you go, people are using technology to text, to listen to music, to watch a video, to play a game, to participate in social media, to navigate, and so much more. While in a restaurant, look at a family at the table next to you. Maybe the children are watching videos or playing on a phone. Today's children are native device users, independently navigating, selecting, interacting with their favorite apps. Students who are visually impaired, including toddlers and preschoolers, should be as tech-savvy as their peers. Now, I'm not advocating that they sit on phones all the time, but actually, a sighted 4-year-old knows how to use a cell phone. and maybe your visually impaired child should also know, because they're learning skills. Is my time nearly done? I'm almost done. I want to say you need to start with what you have, because all of these devices can be very expensive. But most homes have a cell phone these days. A lot of homes have a tablet or an iPad, and other homes have computers. But in our experience, most homes have a cell phone. Your cell phone can be an electronic magnifier just by switching on the camera. It has all the magnification options of an electronic magnifier, all the contrast options. Your tablet can be, this is a stand devised by a visually impaired person here in Cape Town. That's just an ordinary tablet on that stand. You switch on the camera and you put your book under it, and you have an electronic magnifier that you can make as big as you want to. These boys are doing schoolwork. This child on the right here is measuring things on his ruler, and he can see it through the iPad. You can put a book under there. You can read to your child under that. You can enlarge the pictures. But you can do that with a phone. If you put your phone on the stand and you put the camera on and you put the book underneath it, you would see the print. So using the devices you have can start laying the foundation for access to technology. A tablet like this, you get little Bluetooth keyboards, and your tablet can become your computer. And yeah, I saw at a conference last week, I saw a Bluetooth keyboard with Braille. So you can type in Braille and it will come out and print on your tablet. So even if you are, with no vision, these devices come into their own. All of these devices can be operated with no vision. If you are blind, you can use your phone. You can go onto the internet. You can order an Uber. You can do your internet banking with no vision, just on the devices that most of us have in our homes. So don't be daunted by the expensive stuff. Start with what you have. In our assistive, where we've got our assistive devices set up, I've got a tablet on the stand like this. You can come and have a look and see how you could even use your phone.
We're going to have half an hour with Bev and this afternoon, so we will have a one-on-one.
You can go to the next one.
Is it possible to take photos in each activity room?
Yeah. This is my last slide, so I'm almost done. Introducing technology to children with visual impairment, whether they are toddlers, preschool, primary, you need to start now, as soon as possible. Learning knows no bounds, and access to technology is a big equalizer. And you need to be aware of that. So don't shy away from starting young with your children. They may actually be able to see a whole lot through digital magnification. But we've got the simple optical ones there as well. And I also just want to say to you that a lot of the services, this would be free in a sense if you have a phone to actually start accessing digital stuff. There are lots of free apps, and the one that is being used a lot by visually impaired people is something called Seeing AI, which actually turns your cell phone into a talking magnifier, and it will read documents to you. It can read handwriting. It can identify color. It can describe your surroundings. It can describe a person just by touching the app and switching on your phone. Even that encourages children to read things, read labels on tins, and if they can't see, to hear that information. So, yeah, that's my talk. And we will be giving you details about our service. We're in Pinelands. As I say, the assessment is free of charge. We also have access to funding to assist people who can't afford assistive devices. Obviously not the expensive ones, but something to get you going. And I really would encourage you, if you have children, to have that assessment so that you can, when you start entering that school system, you are informed and you can begin to support your children, and you can say to the teacher, don't worry, my child can read with this magnifier. Can you please have him in your classroom? Because there's not enough space in the special schools for all the visually impaired children. And visual impairment is the biggest disability. So most people with disability are visually impaired. They can't all be in special schools. So that's my talk.